One of the biggest challenges in learning a language is learning to speak more fluently. And if you want to improve your speaking to speak more fluently, more confidently, and more quickly, then speaking practice is absolutely essential. If you aren't able to travel abroad for immersion or find yourself a language teacher, there is a third option: finding a great language exchange. Learning a language is a marathon, not a sprint. Finding a great language buddy who you really get along with can make the journey so much more enjoyable and fun. And for me personally, my language buddies were a huge motivator and gave me so much encouragement in practicing my speaking. By speaking to them every week, I could actually see my progress in terms of my communicative competence with them. And this was such a great motivation and a really great way to track my progress and realize that the efforts I was putting in learning vocab and grammar were actually turning into being able to speak more. This video will have 3 parts. Firstly, how to find a language exchange buddy. Secondly, how to run a language exchange session. And thirdly, how to tell what's important in a language buddy and also how to be a good language buddy yourself. If you're new here, my name's Izzy. I'm a final year medical student at Cambridge University, and on this channel we talk about designing lifestyle systems to stay happy, healthy and efficient while studying. So let's get right into the video. There are lots of different websites, apps and platforms that you can use to connect with other people who want to do a language exchange. For me personally, I used the italki community and also a website called language.exchange. I'll link both of those in the description. So go on one of these platforms and make a great profile that will catch people's interests and also let them know why you would be a great language buddy for them. Say a little bit about yourself, your background, your interests in case you have any overlapping ones, and also mention your current language level in the language that you're learning, and say a little bit about your native language ability, including any regional accents you have. You might also want to write your profile in both your native language and also your target learning language, just so that it's easy for any native speakers to understand your profile. After you've set up your online profile, then some people may start reaching out to you, or you can also send messages to people that you're interested in getting in touch with. As soon as you start messaging, I would recommend trying to set up just a short video call fairly soon, even if it's just 15 minutes, half an hour, just to say hi and get to know each other and see if you gel. I'd also recommend trying to meet up with a number of different language exchange buddies to improve your chances of finding someone who you really get along with and matches your personality. I did video calls with maybe around 10 different new language exchange friends. From those 10, I found 2 that I really got along with and became like long-term language buddies with. So once you've got a few video calls lined up with new language exchanges, you might be wondering how to go about running the session. I'd recommend you start with just a short introduction of yourselves and briefly discussing our language learning goals and also how much correction we would like from each other. Some people, they just want to have a flowing conversation and not be interrupted with corrections just to practice their fluency, whereas other people really want to perfect their pronunciation and they really want a lot of corrections. So it's quite good to just get this out there at the start and set the expectations so you can best support each other in your language learning. Another thing that I found worked really well was setting a timer to speak exclusively in each language for an amount of time, for example 10 minutes. So you'd speak in, for example, English for 10 minutes and then switch into Mandarin for 10 minutes. This is a really good way to make sure that you both get time speaking in your target languages. Finally, it always helps to think of some topics or games that you'd like to play in advance. Great basic topics that I always come back to include things like travel, food, where you live, your family, any pets, hobbies and free time, career, studies, sports or exercise, etc. These can kind of be anything you want, but for me, I would write down a couple of questions or a couple of topics that I think might be cool to discuss if there is a lull in the conversation. Another thing that can be quite fun to do is playing some language learning games with your language buddy. One game that I played with some of my friends was we would pick an item from the room and then get our language exchange buddy to ask a few questions about it and try to guess what it was. This isn't really about making the game particularly hard or intellectually challenging. It's more just a way to bring a bit of fun and variety into the language exchange. So now you've found a few language buddies and you've had a few sessions with them. How do you decide what's important in a language buddy and also how you can be a good language buddy yourself? There are 3 things that I think about when I'm trying to decide if we're a good match. The first thing to think about is, are they a good teacher? Are they able to correct you just enough so that you can improve, but not too much that you feel discouraged or you feel like the conversation is very stilted? This applies to you too. Think about the way that you give corrections and how you can make sure that your corrections are really helping your language exchange buddy to reach their goals that you discussed at the start of your conversation. Listen carefully to what they're saying and really engage with them. I think it's also really important to be forgiving of each other. There will be mistakes, misunderstandings, and probably cultural mismatches, as you probably come from very different places. If there are any awkward moments, be ready to laugh it off and just try to keep up the positive vibes. At the end of the day, you're both there to learn and encourage each other. The second important thing in language exchanges is reciprocity, which means making sure that both of you are getting a good amount of time practicing in your target language. In language exchanges, there's this inherent conflict of interest where both of you want to practice in your target learning language, which is the opposite to each other's. But actually, what's more important in doing a good language exchange is not trying to extract the most time speaking in your target language as possible, but actually what's really important is building a good vibe where you can help each other and making sure that you give each other an equal opportunity to practice your target language. This is why I really like using timers, because this makes it very clear cut and less likely to be awkward or have either party feel like they're getting the short end of the stick. It's really important for this to be fun and hopefully become a friendship where you can support and teach each other. And finally, personality match is so important for your exchange to be sustainable and for you to have fun and always have more topics to talk about. Because after all, the most important thing in language learning is having fun and enjoying the process. If you're having fun, it will feel like play rather than feeling like work, and progress will come much more effortlessly. So those are my 3 steps to having a great language exchange. I hope you found these tips helpful or interesting in some way, and I really hope that you can find a great language exchange that works for you and hopefully build lifelong friendships and have a great time along the way. If you enjoyed this video, I think you might like this video over here where I talk about exactly how I learned Mandarin in 6 months, including my study methods and my favorite resources. Thank you so much for watching, take care of yourself, and remember that the journey is the destination. Good luck.